Hi, everyone. John Michael Coppola here, and welcome to the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast, where we chat with the actors, directors, choreographers, designers, producers, music directors, lyricists, playwrights, and all the artists who make the Chicago area theaters come alive. We're so excited to have you here with us today. But before we get started, we just want to remind you to please like, subscribe to, and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues who you think would appreciate the conversations we're having. We'd be so grateful for your support in this way so we can continue to bring these stories for years to come. Thanks again for being here, and now, curtain up on today's episode. Today's guests are both appearing in Point to Point Theater's production of Next to Normal. Max Trotter, who by day is a digital marketing expert, plays Gabe, and Logan VanLerberghe, who by day is a school teacher, plays Henry. And they both shared with us their love of this show, this current production, and how their daily experiences align with their roles in the production. Next to Normal plays at the Lodge Performing Arts Center in Elgin from September 19th to the 28th, and you can get your tickets by clicking the link in our show notes. Now let's go to the top of the show. Hey Max, hey Logan, how you guys both doing?
Doing good, John. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Thanks for joining me here on the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast. Now, we always start every episode the same way, so I'm going to ask you both if you could please give our listeners some information about your background, where you grew up, a bit about your training, but also, most importantly, what your first exposure to theater was, be that as an audience member or even just as a performer. So what do you say we start with Max? Let's start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, John. So I currently live in Bensonville. I grew up in the north suburbs of Chicago, born and raised in the North Shore. And I've been living in the Chicago area ever since I graduated college. Been doing theater for a good amount of time now. And my first exposure to theater, I think, would have to be Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. That was probably the first show I saw. But if I have to say like the first cast album that I played on repeat, probably Phantom of the Opera, or honestly, Jersey Boys. That was probably one of the first ones as well. I know.
Yeah.
Near and dear to your heart.
That's a good one for sure. Which production of Joseph was the first one that you experienced? Because there's been a lot of productions.
I do not remember. I know my parents took me. I have like some tiny memories of like the stage. I think it was a stage in the round, so
probably the Marriott.
Really sure.
Probably the Marriott.
Probably Marriott.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. It's they just did it again recently. And Logan, what about you?
Yes, thank you so much again for having me. I appreciate it. I've been actually around the suburbs of Chicago. I live in Carroll Stream, born and raised, and then went to high school around here, and then went to school for college at Illinois State University. Got my degree in theater education, so teaching theater, certified to teach kindergarten through 12th grade. But I also do performance and vocal performance and acting and everything. I try to mess around in every area that I can with theater because it's just so good. I actually just graduated in May of this year.
Congratulations.
So thank you so much. And I think I have to actually say that my first exposure to theater also was a production of Joseph somehow.
Love it.
Maybe not my first, but the first major memory I have was actually in my elementary school class, music class. We would watch like musicals, and that was one, and I was like, this is really good. And then I remember my mother had a CD of it, and then I didn't realize that like it was like, oh, this is like a thing that's like outside of this world. It's like actually it's like its own thing. And then I like listened to the CD a lot, and I think I like just got really invested. And then I got also second Renaissance when Hamilton came out. That was like big life-changing for me too. So
For sure. Yeah, I mean, Joseph was one of my favorites as a kid. I did a community theater production of it as well. Back then, early 90s, it was just like the show to do. And it's to this day, it's one of my favorites. I mean, it really just, this great score, it's just fun, light. We need that now and again, and it wasn't my first experience, but it's certainly one of my favorites today. Now, you're both doing a production of Next to Normal at Point to Point Theater, which is a community theater. Am I right?
Yeah. They do, community. They also have a youth division, Schaumburg on Stage, where they do a lot of like camp shows for kids. I think that's honestly their primary, but then they've opened up their second division for adult work, and it's great. Yeah.
Cool. So what do you both do for your day jobs, if I may ask? Logan, I'll start with you because I know Max's answer, but we'll save that for our listeners for a second. But what do you do, Logan, during the day?
Yeah, build suspense for Max. No, I am actually doing quite a couple things at the moment. Obviously, teaching is really important to me. I'm starting out in that world with actually working at Skyline Children's Theater throughout the Chicagoland area. They have a bunch of they go to a bunch of schools, middle schools and below, and they work with students to help them foster after school theater programs. And right now we're directing Frozen Junior across the city, and it's really fun to work with them. And I've been doing a lot of like camp work and small, educational work with actual theaters and like theater programs more than public schools for the time being, but we'll branch. And I'm also, I also do some telemarketing with Smart for a company called Smart that is works with theater companies around the country, actually, in getting their tickets sold for their shows.
Oh, fantastic!
So
that's great. And Max, give us a little bit about what you do, buddy.
Yeah, if you asked me a year ago, it's September. A year ago, I was down in Sarasota, of course, with the Four Casinos performing at Florida Studio Theater. But right now, I'm doing some freelance healthcare advertising. That's what I had been doing since I graduated college, and it gives me the flexibility to do theater wherever it may come, and it feels good to feel like I'm helping people in the healthcare industry at least get access to the information they need.
Yeah, that's super important nowadays, for sure. Tell me, both of you, what skills do you use from your daytime work that can cross over and use in your performance, or vice versa? Any skills that you learned in live performance that you can use in your day job? And Logan, maybe we'll start with you, since yours is sort of theater aligned as it is.
Yeah, of course. Well, one thing I was looking for when I was, trying to decide, again, I very recently, college and everything, trying to figure out how I want to proceed with the future. And I knew that arts were important to me and had to be part of it. And that's why I went in the direction of theater teaching. But I also just find it so important to be able to give students that openness and the ability to actually have a chance to have that like world, right? And that exposure that we all had growing up too. And so in that case, with teaching, obviously it's essentially is performing for students. You have an audience of 20 plus kids of every hour, and you have to entertain them, make sure that they don't fall asleep, make sure that they're engaged and understanding something about what you're giving them, right? Which is all same things that you do in performance, except for obviously like different goals with teaching. But you still want to make sure that they feel safe and open and able to express themselves in the way that they are in the way that they can. Yeah, I don't know, but they are actually very similar. So. They are,
especially the part about keeping them awake. You don't want anybody sleeping in class or in the audience if you can help it. And Max, tell us a little bit how your creative pursuits in marketing can translate to the stage, or vice versa.
Yeah, I think similarly to Logan, but more so on the adult side versus kids, I have to also keep the attention of them if I'm doing, presentations about various clients in marketing. Sometimes it feels like it's even more difficult to keep the attention of adults than it is kids. I think kids are a little bit more forgiving and they really want to engage with you. But yeah, I think the public speaking aspect of my job has definitely helped a lot from my pursuits in theater, and I would say vice versa, just having the understanding of how to communicate effectively to people. I mean, that's really important on the theater side, but also telling a story and what I do on a daily basis is really critical to make sure I am keeping the attention and driving impact to the effectiveness of the story that I'm telling.
Now, did you study marketing?
I actually studied psychology, which works out pretty well for next to normal. I've been able to use some of the stuff I learned in college.
And I imagine in marketing too, you want to get in the psychological space of people to get them sold on things, right?
in marketing, it works really well too. Yeah, you try to understand why people are doing what they're doing and how to get them to do the behavior you want them to do.
How did you find your way to marketing from psychology?
So originally, I wanted to practice as a psychologist in a clinical setting, do some behavioral therapy, and I took a intensive advertising class one summer in college and found that I could do both psychology and do it on a broader scale and do it for a lot of interesting brands and help some people in ways that I didn't expect that I would be able to help. So I shifted my mentality there from then on in college and took some digital media classes where I learned really about the changes that were happening in the social media landscape digitally as well, and that's really helped me expand what I thought was possible in terms of taking my studies, my basis in psychology, and moving it more into advertising. And it's never left me. I don't think it ever will leave me, and maybe one day I'll go back and pursue a higher degree in psychology, but for now it has definitely helped me in my day job, and it's absolutely helped me significantly in theater and how I approach understanding the characters that I'm portraying.
Sure. Do either of you have family members who are also in the arts, either professionally or doing community theater that you grew up around, or is it something you just, out of your own volition, once you saw it, you knew you just had to be a part of it somehow? Logan, let's continue with you.
Honestly, not really. It was definitely came from a home that was very encouraging of try whatever you want to do, and we'll support it. And so it was very supportive to go through and realize that theater was cool and performing was cool. I found it more through movies when I was young. Like, I would be interested in not only honestly cartoons, especially too, like how they were made. I got super interested in how do they do that, which was probably not the average typical kid's interest. I was 5 years old and trying to draw my own storyboards and stuff. But no, I was no, it was very supportive. But no, I can't say that anyone in my family necessarily pursued the same path per se.
Gotcha. And now, Max, I know that you have a very interesting story about how you started doing community theater, and it was right around the pandemic. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever asked you if you have anybody in your family that's artistic. So give our listeners a bit about how you started doing community theater, sort of, I think, out of the pandemic time, right?
Yeah. So I was definitely a late bloomer to theater. I was always interested in it. I never did it in high school, but I played sports growing up, and that just didn't let me have the time to do theater. Looking back on it, I would say, would I change what I did? No, because it's led me to where I am now and the people I have in my life now, which is amazing for me.
Sure.
But yeah, right before the pandemic, I auditioned for my first show. I thought, well, now it's time to really just give this theater thing a try. Got a vocal coach, a wonderful vocal coach, and auditioned, got the part. It actually was Joseph. That was my first production that I got cast in right before the pandemic.
Full circle moment right there.
Full circle moment. The pandemic hit. We didn't cancel the production. We just waited about a year and a half to put it up. So that happened in, November of 2021, I believe, and did that production. And from there, I was hit. I was struck with the theater bug, and have been doing shows ever since, and just looking for any opportunity I have. And met, again, as I mentioned, some wonderful people. My partner, Jamie, I met in the second show I did, Sweeney Todd. And yeah, from there, it's just been incredible opportunities, and I hope to continue doing that. And, to answer your question earlier, I have one cousin who has done a lot of theater professionally. She's toured nationally. And, I grew up going to a lot of her shows and watching that, and that was a wonderful influence on me. And my dad actually was in a band about 20 years ago. So that's I don't think I ever told you that, but that's something that's the only person in my family who I think in public has done any performing in my immediate family. So he doesn't do it anymore. He won't do it.
That's cool.
Never.
And I've met your dad, and he's never revealed that. So it's fun. It's news to me too. That's kind of neat.
No, he's not somebody who's going to share anything like that. Yeah.
Give our listeners some idea about what type of warm-ups or tools you guys have in your actor's toolkit that you like to draw on. Max, why don't we go back to you?
Yeah, sure. I definitely have a pretty set vocal warm up. I say a set vocal warm up, but it changes, and that's by design slightly. I really just need to open for what I sing, which happens to be whether it's in next to normal or the four C notes. Definitely singing a wide variety of music from kind of mid-level chest voice all the way through really high falsetto. So
Yeah.
with next to normal in particular, it's just really opening up those low notes and progressing and making sure that I don't have any tension. So open vowel sounds, working through softer sounds, and then building up to that stronger sound eventually when I get ready to perform. And I like to sing through some of the music, at least like the first few songs, maybe one later on in the show, just to make sure that I have that in my body before each performance. So that's helped me a lot, just stay grounded and stay focused and know that, each day it might be different, but I know what I'm working with as long as I do that before I actually go out and perform.
That's really smart. I had a voice teacher when I was doing Jersey Boys. The vocal coach, there was a vocal coach that was hired by the production, and her sole job with the production was to have the Frankies and the understudies of Frankie and the covers for Frankie in tip-top vocal shape, and that was her job with all the companies worldwide, from Broadway to the tour to Chicago to Australia to London. All hours of the day she was rehearsing with different guys who were either playing or covering the role of Frankie Valli. And eventually, once you sort of got your stamina up, she would say, okay, now I want you to practice singing the show backwards to forwards, because by the time you get to the songs later in the show, you're tired and you might be pulling with some tension or, really over singing, where if you start backwards, you can sort of start in a really relaxed place and really find where those notes have to be placed in a healthy way to sing the stuff later in the show. So that's a really, really great piece of advice that your vocal coach obviously gave you.
And it's so critical for me to do that because it allows me to honor the character and the acting. Because if I know that the singing's all prepared and I'm ready for that, then all I need to do is, really be in the moment.
And Logan, what about you? Any tools you like to draw from?
Of course, yeah. So I do have some simple warm-ups that I tend to try each time. Just vocals, making sure not only that that I can get to the highest highs and lowest lows that I need to get for the characters, but also the making sure like vowels, sounds, and that character voices are in line with what I want it to sound. Every character, I try to think of it as like how would that character be singing their stuff instead of necessarily just like how would I also like my own voice. And so I if there's slight changes or making sure everything's aligned right, and then of course, as Max was mentioning, I do the same thing. I try to find at least the whatever's making me feel the most like in my head about that particular day, and I just find a space and I just do it and make sure that I can still do that. Okay, we're good. It's more of a it's less of a repetition or like running it, like the backwards and forwards like you mentioned, which is a great idea. But honestly for me it's more just like you can still do that. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, a little bit of a confidence boost and settle the nerves and know that it's all there before you have to dive into the other parts of the character, for sure. Are there any lessons that you guys have learned, either, again, in your day jobs or in theater, that you kind of hold on to as your guiding light in life or in performance? Logan, we'll go back to you.
Yes. Well, again, just that this idea that everything you do reflects back to you as a person, and like that, as a teacher, for example, students will remember everything, especially the things that you think that you did by accident or something like that, or like little things that you didn't mean to do. They'll remember that. They'll tell their friends and be like, oh my God, I can't believe, did you hear Mr. V just said this thing in class? And it's like, I just said that accidentally. But it's like everything you do matters. And it helps a lot with, when you're performing too, like when you're making very specific choices, like every way you say a line can have a different meaning than then like you can build that as minuscule as you want to, and like focusing on small details really does help with that. But just that trying to put the best foot forward in every way, because you'll never know what thing people remember the most.
For sure. And Max, what about you? Any lessons you've learned doing theater or in your day job that you sort of carry over day to day?
Yeah, I would say being prepared for in both theater and my day job is the most important for me. I think being prepared, whether it's like for an audition, for a callback, for the role itself,
Yeah.
I guess as long as I've done all of the work ahead of time and I feel really comfortable, like Logan said, like I've gone through all those like minuscule like line changes, like reading it certain ways, just interpreting the song in one way or the other. If I feel like I've done all of that and prepared in that way, I feel the most confident and ready to just be in the character, as I mentioned before,
Yeah.
because you never know what little change in your scene with your scene partner may like affect your performance in that moment. And I think just being ready for that and the preparation that goes into that allows me to be ready for those changes, because I think that the joy of live theater is nothing is the same every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you try to be as consistent as you possibly can, but that's the amazing part of it. You can see one performance that has this one nuance that just changed another moment, and then as an audience member, that may hit you in a certain way. So I think just that potential butterfly effect is really exciting for me, and being prepared lets me potentially have that moment with others.
Yeah, for sure. The more prepared you are, the more you can sort of play in the playground, and it's got more life and more energy, and the audience is with you more for the ride rather than just sort of doing the same thing all the time and phoning it in. I mean, that could be effective for some people too, but I think there's always much more excitement in a room, whether it's in the rehearsal room or in front of an audience, when if you are as prepared as you can be, because then you're just living in the moment in real time, and we see that. So let's talk about Lex Normal. What drew you both to auditioning for the show? I mean, it's a show you must have both been familiar with. It's sort of more of a contemporary piece that people of your generation were familiar with. So what is it that speaks to you about the show that made you want to audition for it? And Max, we'll continue with you.
I've loved this show. I found it, I don't know, maybe like 8 years ago or 5 years ago, 5 to 8 years ago on Spotify, when I was just really digging into all like theater. Just had my playlist on shuffle, and I'm Alive popped up, and from there I just dug into the show, just trying to understand like what it was all about. I mean, it's an incredible story. It's an incredible score. Like you said, it's really contemporary in terms of like the rock pop score, and it's definitely aligning with more of where like I had been seeing my voice sitting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really exciting show. I think it does a great job of portraying mental illness and mental health in a way that I hadn't seen done before, and I think it paved the way for a lot of shows to do that moving forward. Really trailblazed in that sense.
Yeah.
And I think specifically with the portrayal of grief, and the character I play, Gabe, I think that is kind of that manifestation of grief in a lot of different ways, and I just really enjoyed digging in. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay, fantastic. And Logan, tell us about your experience with the show, and also telling our audience who you play in the show.
Yeah, of course. So I'm playing Henry in the show, who is the boyfriend of Natalie Goodman, the daughter of the family, and I think this show is just fantastic. Genuinely, it's amazing. You might hear my cat in the background if you hear a little meows. She's around, but no, I think that again, like what Max said, the show is so phenomenal in its just raw depiction of these mental health in general, and also grief, and also so much that can affect the day-to-day person without even realizing it. So many people go through very very similar issues, I guess, that are brought up in this material, and it can tackling it can be complex, and oftentimes it's oftentimes not done properly. And I really do think that this material handles it with the nuance, and also with the eccentric theater like nature that makes it so gripping and realistic. And it means a lot to me. I've known the show for a little, honestly, somehow not that long, but I again, I'm Alive got me into it years back, and I was like, this show seems really cool. I got to get into it one day. I got the chance to watch it once, and I had no idea. So some of the twists that happened, I had no idea about going in, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is really really solid. I'm really invested. And then what really got me back into it was actually the recent the West End revival that they did with the pro shot with Jack Wolf and everything, and that got me really really appreciative of the material and what you could do with it, and thank you PBS for having that up so we could all see it. But it was that was the point where I was like, I think I got to do this. I think I got to find a way to do this show. And that was actually at the same time I was actually in a production of Spring Awakening with the company with Point to Point Productions, which just also happens to be like 15 minutes from where I live, which was, so I was like, Spring Awakening is my number one musical most likely of all time.
Okay.
And so I was like, I have to do that. And that was a wonderful experience. The company the cast got so close together, and it was beautiful. And so I was encouraged to go out for their next one, which just happened to be Next to Normal as well, another one very dear to me. So I was like, I think I will.
Excellent. I know that the show deals with difficult subjects and difficult situations, but I'm curious if there's any similarities between the characters you're playing and yourselves. And when I say similarities, I don't necessarily mean the situations you're in, but anything that you can draw on from your own experiences that help inform your characters. Logan, let's continue with you.
Sure. Well, in the context of this story, my character Henry, he's a kid, he's a stoner, he's just there for a lot of the time, trying to make his way through life. But not only does he have to, kind of get presented with a lot of these issues and situations that he may or may not be familiar with, but it's him being a rock and a way to help. And a shoulder to lean on. That's definitely something that I can relate to, with friends, with family members that have, mental health concerns, and even with myself when I need to look for people in that way, because, it always happens. You always need a good shoulder to lean on. And so trying to play into that energy has been really effective with this role.
That's wonderful. I'm glad to know that you can be that person that people can rely on when they're in a period of trouble. That's really commendable.
I try. Sometimes it's hard, but
Yeah,
no,
sure.
But yeah.
Awesome. And Max, what about you?
Yeah, I would say I don't know how much I necessarily align with everything that I've kind of learned and thought about with Gabe as a character. I think with the show overall, or with what Gabe kind of portrays in the show, as I mentioned, my interpretation, and I think what we've talked about a lot, as a cast, as a creative team, is that Gabe is kind of manifesting grief for different people in the family. And as Logan mentioned, and we've all either personally or we know someone close to us who's experienced a loss. So I think that's something that we do we have kind of talked about and understand how that affects people differently. And my personal experiences, and I know people I've been around, or myself losing somebody close. I think it's important to understand that there are different ways people do experience that grief. And I think through the portrayal of Gabe and what I've learned so far, and I'm still doing some active learning, and I think I'll continue throughout this process, is just that it's important to have empathy and understand that people are showing grief in a different way, that they may be internalizing it, and just giving space for people to do that. And I would say my character doesn't always do that, and that's sometimes intentional. And in some ways, he is a great person to lean on in certain instances. I'd say more for Diana, the mom, than anyone else in the cast. But yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience about understanding grief in those stages and how everyone experiences it.
Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners where people can get their tickets for Next to Normal, the dates it's running, and even the website of the theater, if that's where you get the tickets. But give us all that information so we can share that out.
Yeah, hopefully I will get it exactly right, but I believe it's SchaumburgOnStage.com/point2productions. Oh, point the number 2 productions, or find us on social media. I know they're on Facebook and Instagram, Schaumburg on Stage. It's probably the best way. We're doing a big social media push in the next few weeks. So there will be links directly to the tickets. The performance space is the Lodge Performing Arts Center up in Elgin. It's definitely
Great space. You'll love it.
It's a new space. I know Logan's performed in it for Spring Awakening. It's a beautiful space. They built it, and they're really actively making it a wonderful theater space, and I'd say it's worth the trip. We have an incredible cast, really just people who are performing at all levels of Chicago theater, and I think it's been an incredible experience. I don't want to speak for you, Logan, but I feel like every day we go to rehearsal and we're just like, this is amazing. Like, I'm learning so much from everyone's portrayal, whether it's the principal cast, the understudy cast, the creative team, just everyone's really at the top of their game and so experienced. So I think this is our production that's, I know it's cliche, but not to be missed. And I know we're all very passionate about it, but there's a lot of talent that's going to be on that stage.
Great. And I want to add that it is directed by a friend of the podcast, Mike Frail, who is our guest of our 3rd episode we ever did here on the podcast. And what are the dates that it's running, Max?
It is running September 19th through the 28th. It's Fridays and Saturdays at 7:30, Sundays at 2 p.m.
And we have an understudy performance as well, put in for Saturday, the
27th.
Yeah, at the 2 p.m. performance, which is fantastic that those wonderful performers get the chance to go on in their roles. I'm so excited. I've loved working with them. I just want to say about the cast again before we move on that they're just phenomenal. Everybody has so much passion and charm and wisdom to share, and everyone knows their characters so well. It's like a second nature. The way that they're able to think of new ideas and come up with ways of enhancing the scenes. It's just it's so good to work with such a team of people that are so invested in this.
Yeah. And not only that, like we're also working with the incredible music director Aaron Zimmerman, who I know a lot of the cast has worked with before, but he's putting together an incredible band, and I'm just really excited about some of the people he's already told me who are in that band. It's the full original orchestration, so it's going to be amazing music, led by Aaron, and really excited.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a really great show. I really hope I get a chance to see it.
We'd love to see you.
Yeah, I'll be sure to let you and Mike know if I can make it. Tell our listeners finally where they can find you both online. Logan, let's start with you.
Yes, of course. My name is a little unique, as I'm sure you've noticed, so you can honestly just look it up. But you can also find me at Kylo_GAN, an old username, but we're going with it, on everything that under the sun.
Fantastic. How about you, Max?
I'm personally not amazing at being public on social media.
Come on, you're a digital marketer. How can you not be amazing on social media? I'm kidding.
I'm good at social media. I'm purposefully not a big presence. But if you want to find me on Instagram, MaxTrotter11, feel free to add me. And just check us out at the Schaumburg on Stage. Instagram and Facebook will be posting a lot of content for the show coming up.
Yeah.
And I do also want to plug that there is a industry discount that we're running for the entire run of the show, $10 off tickets. So all you have
bring
to
your
do
resume to the door.
Bring your resume to the door. It's an in-person discount. We got some great tickets left for most of the shows. Some of them are pretty close to selling out. So I would say get your tickets in advance. But if you are in the industry and want to see it, we will find one for you.
Fantastic. Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed the sellout continues to happen for the run. And like I said, I will let you know if I can make it myself. Logan, Max, thank you guys both for being here on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. Have a great run.
John.
Yeah, have a great run.
Thank you so much for having us.
And hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for joining us at the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. The Chicago Theater Makers Podcast is a production of Spirit Art LLC and our podcast theme music is by Paul Langford. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the podcast, please drop us a note at our website, shytheatermakerspodcast.com. That's CHITHEATER, makers with an S, podcast.com. We hope you enjoyed spending time with us as much as we enjoyed spending it with you, and we'll see you on the board soon.